It's really hard to believe that the Game Awards is next week already. This year flew by too fast. Last year, I actually made a video showing the games that I voted for through my computer, and it didn't turn out that well visually, but I wanted to kind of give you guys my opinion on, all the categories. This year, I want to do something a little bit different. I want to go back in time and discuss the previous winners that won Game of the Year. There are a few that I really agreed with and a few that I did not agree with. The Game Awards started in 2014. I think they replaced the Spike TV Game Awards that weren't as prestigious. Now, I'm not going to include games that were my personal Game of the Year, at least at the time, that weren't even nominated at the Game Awards, because that happened a couple times. Like, my personal Game of the Year in 2014 was Child of Light. That didn't get crap. Uh, I believe, 2017, Hellblade was my Game of the Year. That didn't get nominated for Game of the Year. It got a bunch of other awards in other categories, but it didn't get a Game of the Year nomination. So I'm not going to include games that are cherished by me. I'm only going to include games that were nominated that I could have voted for. So 2014, the Game of the Year was Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm okay with that. A lot of fans still prefer Origins, but, to me, Inquisition is arguably the best in the Dragon Age trilogy. I thought it was great. Story-wise, not so much, but gameplay was really fun. I'm not sure that I would choose it over Dark Souls 2, though, because Dark Souls 2 came out the same year, and I think I like that one a little bit more, even though it's arguably the worst Dark Souls game, right? Not in my opinion. I like Dark Souls 2 more than 3, but I'm fine with Inquisition winning Game of the Year. I also heard that Shadow of Mordor was really good. I have it. I've had it for years, and I just never got around to it, but I hear that one's really good as well. So maybe that one. 2014 for me wasn't a really memorable year. Like, my two favorites were Child of Light and Valiant Hearts, and neither of those got it. So, Dragon Age Inquisition, okay, understandable. I can agree to that, even if it's not necessarily my Game of the Year. 2015, The Witcher 3 dominated that year, and I agree. Witcher 3 is still, to this day, one of the best open-world RPGs I've ever played. That came out the same year as Fallout 4. It's better than Fallout 4. It came out the same year as Metal Gear Solid 5. It's better than Metal Gear Solid 5, I think. And it came out the same year as Bloodborne. Bloodborne is great, too. And combat-wise, I do prefer Bloodborne over Witcher 3. But Witcher 3 overall, to me, is better. It has better content, better story, better side missions, probably more memorable music. I do like the art style in Bloodborne more. I like Gothic more than medieval, so. But Witcher 3 overall, I think, is one of the, if not best game of the last decade, the previous decade. It's a phenomenal game. It is very long, though. Like, if you have a life, it's going to take forever to get through Witcher 3. It's really huge and just immersive. 2016 kind of sucked. That was the year that my dad passed away. That was the year that my best friend from college killed himself. And that was a year where none of the Game of the Year games really stick out to me. I think they gave Game of the Year to, like, Overwatch that year, and that I definitely do not agree with. I hate Overwatch. Overwatch 2 does seem a little bit better, at least for casual players, but I hate Overwatch. I hated Overwatch, I should say. That beat Uncharted 4. I do like Uncharted. All the other nominees I liked more than Overwatch. Uncharted 4 was better. Titanfall 2 was better. XCOM 2 was better. Dark Souls 2 was better. And, of course, Doom, the reboot of Doom, was better. I think Doom should have won. Doom is one of the best reboots I've ever played. Doom should have won Game of the Year. id Software should have won Best Game Direction. And especially looking back at it now, fuck Blizzard, okay? Because they didn't, in retrospect, they don't deserve shit. Like, id Software, though, I mean, they've been pumping out quality games non-stop ever since they started 30 years ago. More than 30 years ago. So I think Doom should have won that year. I think my personal favorite game of the year that year was like The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine DLC, but I mean, that's DLC. And that wasn't nominated at the Game Awards. It did win Best RPG, though, at the Game Awards. It beat Dark Souls 3 for Best RPG. 2017, they obviously gave it to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And even though that is a really good open world game, it's understandable. I mean, it was kind of like the obvious choice. It's not my game of the year. If I had to vote between those games that were listed in 2017, the best one to me was Persona 5. Persona 5 is one of the best JRPGs I've ever played. 2018 was God of War. Another understandable one, and that actually won my Game of the Year too. But looking back on it though, I think I actually prefer Red Dead Redemption 2. I think Red Dead Redemption 2 left more of a lasting appeal on me. It left a bigger impression on me than God of War, surprisingly. I love the presentation of Red Dead 2. I love the story more than God of War Reboot. I love the main character, you know, the open world was so lavishly detailed, it was, like, insane, it was unreal. All the NPCs, all the strangers had their own lines, their own personality. So much was put into Red Dead 2's world that, looking back on it, that's probably my game of the year, is Red Dead Redemption 2. But God of War, of course, also very understandable. That was a really great game as well. 2019... What came out in 2019? Oh, Sekiro. Sekiro won. And honestly, I have no complaints with that. Sekiro was a very well-crafted, very technically polished, very innovative, high adrenaline action game. Like, I didn't like it at first, but like the more I played it, and you know, like the New Game Plus and stuff, and I have all these abilities, and I became more experimental the second time around. I really, really loved Sekiro. Now, I gave my game of the year to The Outer Worlds. I'm not sure how that would hold up, because I actually haven't played that game since, so my opinion might have been changed. Resident Evil 2 was another awesome one. I would have been perfectly fine with Resident Evil 2 winning too, honestly. Resident Evil 2, The Outer Worlds, Sekiro, all amazing in their own ways. So Sekiro wasn't my personal favorite, at least at the time, but honestly, no complaints, because since then I've never played an action game quite as intense as Sekiro. It was nuts. 2020 is definitely a year that I disagreed with. The Last of Us 2 won. No. The Last of Us 2 is the worst nominee that won. It was the worst nominee that year. Like, it's worse than Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's worse than Doom Eternal. It's worse than Hades. It's worse than Ghost of Tsushima. I didn't care for The Last of Us 2. I thought the pacing was all over the place. The story sucked. Most of the characters sucked. They killed off one of the few really good characters really quickly. And, you know, I couldn't get on board with it. It wasn't a bad game. Like, in terms of gameplay, it was fine. It was good. But the story was really bad. I hated the story. And I didn't really like playing it either. It was like twice as long as it needed to be. At least that's what it felt like. Like I said, the pacing was horrible. Initially, my vote was Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima was a really compelling, epic war game, story-wise. And it had really good visuals, audio. It had just good voice acting from both the Japanese and English dubbing. And, you know, that one had a really compelling story, really emotional near the end. Ghost of Tsushima was awesome. And that was my game of the year for a long time in 2020. That was my game of the year until the year after I finally got to play Hades. Hades is the best game of 2020. Like, period. Hades should have won Game of the Year at the Game Awards. Not The Last of Us 2. Not even Ghost of Tsushima. Hades should have won. I love Hades. I can play it all day long and not get tired of it. It's a roguelike, you know, isometric action game. It's great. Great story, great characters, great music. Really tight, fast-paced gameplay. Love it. 2021 was another year that felt like there weren't any real standout contenders. You know, I mean, there was like Resident Evil Village, there was like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, but they ended up giving it to an indie game, which is pleasantly surprising. It's called It Takes Two. I never played It Takes Two, so I can't say on whether it was well-deserved or not. It probably was, because I hear it's amazing. I hear it's like one of the best co-op games of all time. I just never found another person to play it with, and I do want to one of these days, because it requires two people constantly to play through. My personal game of the year was, and still is, Psychonauts 2. I just found it to be very funny, very heartwarming at times. Kind of like a Pixar movie, but a game. You know, it's like a Pixar game. Very cartoony, doesn't take itself seriously. I love Psychonauts 2. I actually thought it was even better than the first game, and that's a high bar to set. To raise, I should say. But yeah, Psychonauts 2 was my game of the year. But It Takes Two probably deserved it. Hell if I know. Hopefully I do get to finally get around to playing it. And now we have this year. Game of the year has to either go to Elden Ring or God of War Ragnarok. Anything else doesn't really make much sense. You know, I was pleasantly surprised to see A Plague Tale Requiem. I'm glad that that game got recognition as one of the best games of the year. And I'm happy. I loved A Plague Tale Requiem. But, come on, man. It's gotta be either Elden Ring or Ragnarok. I just beat Ragnarok. By the way, I am trying to put together a review. If you guys can give me just like a few more days, I think I can pump it out in time by the end of the weekend. Or maybe Monday. Definitely stay tuned for my Ragnarok review. I loved it. But I'm not sure that I loved it more than Elden Ring. I think I like Elden Ring just a little tiny bit more. But yeah, like I said, it's got to be one of those two games, and I'm happy that it would be either one of those two games. That would be the winner. So yeah, I can't wait to watch the Game Awards. I'll definitely be watching it live. And yeah, I look forward to upcoming trailers and stuff. One thing I will say that I don't like about the Game Awards is that they announced their nominees in November, and they announced the winners before the year even ends. There are always games coming out in December. that don't reach the cutoff date, like the Callisto Protocol. That looks like a really great survival horror game. That probably could have been nominated for Best Action Adventure. It definitely probably would have been nominated for Best Audio, you know, because most survival horror games have really good audio, right? And, you know, Josh Duhamel probably would have been nominated for Best Performance or something. That game would have likely gotten a few nominations, but now it won't because the Game Awards, for some reason, they bring it too soon, you know? They should have the nominees announced at the end of the year and then have the ceremony in January, not December. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts? What games are you hoping that is going to win? Are there games in the past that you've agreed or disagreed with, especially? Let me know in the comments. I'll love to hear your thoughts and stuff and read all that. And, yeah, stay tuned for my God of War Ragnarok review. I am planning on making one. Hopefully it turns out well. I got these next few days off, so I should be okay. Anyway, thank you for watching.
The Gamer Gods!
Fail!